Hi, this training will cover work order navigation in Latchel. Just basically getting around Latchel, understanding the work order page and all the different components to it. So we'll cover accessing and viewing the work orders page as well as the individual work pages for the work orders, editing details, and then updating job statuses in Latchel. So we have a couple of different ways to see work orders. The main one is when you log in, hit maintenance, and then work orders. It'll take you to a list or the column view. You can choose which one you want to view or how you prefer to select just by selecting that to see whether it's in the rows list or just under column. But through either one, you're allowed to filter on various different conditions, whether it's time, status, portfolios and owners, how long you can sort, whether it's you want to see stuff that's been there the longest or stuff that's moved there most recently. We have a concept of hiding archived work orders. When a work order is complete, you just want to completely clear it out from the view. You can, by default, we hide those, but you can make those visible or filter for emergencies only. Now, these filters are saved in through the URL, so you can also bookmark if you have a set of filters that you like. Recommend bookmarking those. But then when you go back to that view, you have those filters saved by default. And if the filters are enough, you can search as well using strings to find whatever is matching your criteria, whether it's the address, work order number, resident name, etc. And now the column view allows you to see more of a visual representation of how work orders are progressing. And each column represents different stages. Pending is something's waiting on whether your team or a service provider, but things aren't progressing in that pending column without somebody taking some kind of action. Scheduling collects the various types of scheduling, whether it's with the resident or the service provider. Workdate schedule is just that, only ones with a future workdate set, and confirming completion, getting invoice, and then we have a completed and canceled. In the column view, there's different color coding, yellow or orange, depending on your screen settings. That one generally requires your team's intervention. Blue means this is in a status that typically has automation running behind it, and it's going to be progressing as it should. But some of them may get stuck over a period of time. If you don't see them progressing, you'd want to jump in and take over. The green ones, completed. Gray means no action is needed because it's either canceled or just not being tracked in the Latchel system. So this has a similar filter view, just like the other one. You can filter the same and search the same, just like you do on the list view. Now let's switch over to the work order pages themselves. So if you click into a work order, the first view we have is this thing called Quick View. And Quick View is completely configurable. You just click that configure button. And Quick View allows you to turn on and turn off. Some people might feel it's like too cluttered to see everything, or they want to change the order in which they see different tiles inside of the Latchel work order page. All that's configurable in this panel. You can save it. And we have video there if you want to learn more about how the Quick View works, how to navigate it. But that's all customized down to your individual personal preferences. Now, getting around the work order page, fairly straightforward. There's a panel on the left with all the different key navigation places that you might want to go through. We bold the one that you're currently on. I'm clicked into the activity one in this particular view, and the activity is a log that shows everything that has happened on a work order. All the activity is shown by default, but you can filter down by clicking on, like, only show me the tasks, show me emails or text messages or calls that were made related to this work order, or notes my team or somebody else has left. By default, the most recent is on top, but you can change that to show the oldest. There's also an option to download the entire log. It will save it as a PDF. I've actually seen this used in court or insurance cases to understand what's happening inside the work order, and it's very great documentation to show that action and activity was happening, who's responsible for what at different times. So that's the basics of how to get around the work order page. Now, when you land on a work order, you have different tasks that will pop up if your action is required or suggested, and actions you can take. So these little bars will pop up. They're little modals or notifications that will say what the suggested action to take for that particular job is. And if there's multiple tasks that are open, those will also pop up. You can just take the recommended action, or if you click on a task, view details, that will get you over to the activity section for the relevant task, so you can see the context or the history, what's happened. And if you don't want to take one of those actions right away, you can just hide that, and that will disappear. Now, if it disappears, you still get that primary action will show up in that blue button. There's also an option to see all the other actions available to you on that work order. And these are suggested actions separate from being able to take action other places on the work order, which we'll get to soon enough. But this is the key place where if you want to change the status or move the work order somewhere else, all that can happen through those other actions bar, or there's create task, create notes for yourself or your team. You also have an ability to add it to a project if it already isn't part of a project. This work order here is part of a project, so it doesn't have that option. It would show up if it's not. And then if you want to go back and see the prior suggested tasks and actions, you just click that little task clipboard and they will pop right back up, and it will just look like that again. And then you can hide and it'll come back to the same view. Okay, so that's how you navigate around the work order page, take suggested actions. There's also the ability to edit work order details. We're going to go over work order number, title, job number, work order severity, which is an important one for remembering how the right way to change that for particularly for emergency situations, and then other work order details, how to edit those. So for work order number and title, it's fairly straightforward, and pretty much for any field at all that's inside of Latchel, that's a text, you just click right on the text and it'll make it editable. When that portion goes, you click it, and there's the ability to just click that check mark once you're done editing, and it will saved. Some of the others look slightly different, but the work order is the same. It's in that gray area, just that green checkbox once you're ready to save. Severity works slightly differently. So you would click on the current severity level, you get a drop down that, and then you select the severity that best matches what you want. Now, please note, if it's an emergency that you want to update something to, you should follow up with a message to the Latchel team. There's a message option in the upper right. Just click that, message Latchel support and say, hey, want your team to take over, whether it's scheduling or follow-up or whatever else it may be. Otherwise, the team will assume that you're working on the emergency yourself. So just remember, if you want the Latchel team to take over a work order, when you upgrade it to an emergency, make sure to message in to the Latchel support chat right there. So other places to edit, throughout the page, you'll see these 3 dots on different areas that aren't quite editable text, but you might have different selections, like if you want to edit the skill. Same thing for property, service provider, a bunch of other places. If you see those 3 dots, you can click that and edit that particular area. And then for places that have text, kind of like the title or the work order number, just click on it. It'll become an editable field. Instead of the little checkbox, it's just a save button and a cancel button. Once you hit save, it commits that. And all these changes are logged to the activity log, so you can see the history of any changes anybody's made, including the Latchel team. So now we're moving on to work order status management and how to change the work order state. So I already showed you through the other actions menu that you can change those statuses as you'd like, but we're also going to go over the definitions of all of these work order statuses, because it may not be the most obvious what anything means inside of the Latchel system for different statuses, because we work differently than other property management systems. So troubleshooting means the Latchel team is currently in the process of contacting the resident, understanding a deeper level. And this only applies to emergencies. Only emergencies do we do this additional level of troubleshooting. All work orders go through basic diagnostics, triage, and some basic troubleshooting. But for emergencies, we have a second level where our team will call that resident back, try to go deeper, offer video call to understand what's going on and try to fix that. Now, finding service provider is a different status in Latchel compared to other systems as well. So the Latchel system has an automatic dispatch. Another training video covers what automatic dispatch looks like, or this would signify to your team that it's an opportunity to assign a service provider if you don't want that automatic dispatch to work, or if you chose to disable it for whatever reason on a particular work order. Scheduling with resident means the Latchel system is requesting from the resident, actually all residents at that property, to give their availability. And the reason it does that is when we send it to scheduling the service provider, we want to show that service provider as much resident availability as possible so it can get scheduled as soon as possible. So scheduling with resident means we're requesting the resident's schedule. Scheduling a service provider means we're displaying that resident's availability to the service provider, and they're picking the slot that works best for them. Awaiting work date means that date has been confirmed, reminders being sent for the resident and the service provider to make sure that they're going to show up and be able to complete that work. Confirming completion gets that feedback loop from both the service provider and the resident. Did they show up? Did they complete the work? Is there more follow-up work to do? And how was the experience overall? Rates the interaction with the service provider, with coordinating the work overall. And if they give a good rating, that's an opportunity to leave a review at your review site. Awaiting invoice means the work was confirmed complete, or nobody said anything about the work not being complete, that no one said there was any issues, and we're requesting the invoice from the service provider. Service provider can upload or create an invoice through the Latchel platform. There's a setting if you don't collect invoices to turn that off for a particular service provider. This forwarded to PM is only for people on like emergency only subscriptions where Latchel system's not used for coordinating non-emergency work. It would mean it's sent to the property manager to coordinate on a different platform. So if you want to update the work order status, I mean, there's always the option to take the primary action, which would do what it says and update it to that appropriate stage. The other option is click that other actions drop down and then select the most appropriate status to move it forward. Okay, throughout all this, if you need any help, have any questions, or have suggestions on how we can make it work better, just email us at success@latchel.com. We're happy to help you out or add that request to our roadmap. Thank you.